them, and Twig, you know, he can use that ultimate, you know, get back into the team.
Yeah, one thing that I think that Twig has always had to kind of compensate for is whenever they try to play a bit more aggressive, especially with Panda liking to come out with the early aggression, it's really important for him to have the kind of counter aggression to follow up on the Panda. And also, you can see right away when we're getting into the bans, Licht often take away that tier. They are not about to let Variety have any sort of fun whatsoever this game.
No. It's almost as if they did their homework there, Funballer.
And tier Ymir is like Verity's most played gods, and he's most known for his Ymir as well. It wouldn't surprise me if Obey actually picks it up as well.
Yeah, I think it's actually really interesting that Licht would opt to go with the Odin band secondary, because even though we saw Panda displaying on it earlier, it makes me think that they're looking to go for some kind of healer composition, maybe like a Sylvanas pick, something that would allow them a lot of aggression early on, that would make them feel pretty comfortable with the way that the team roll is going. But you can see Obey immediately opting right away for that Zeus. So I think it's really important that they go ahead and lock down such a predominant comfort pick for Pretty Prime.
Yeah, and Prime played this before, and he played amazingly. And Prime's one of his most favorite gods is Zeus, and the damage he can output without getting, you know, poked or anything like that is just on point.
Yeah, I think it's crucial, in my opinion, though, that Licht would opt for the Sobek, because I think that Sobek's actually a decent character at trying to get in and pull the Zeus out of these team-oriented fights to hopefully put him in an uncomfortable position to where they can try and lock him down for an early kill before he gets off all of his damage.
Yeah, and the Jingui was picked up by Ataraxi. That's one of his main gods. He's most likely going to go into his new build. Ataraxi is one of those people that always make those type of new different builds. So it wouldn't surprise me if he goes for the Ninja Tabi, because he went Shoes of Focus, I believe, on the Cronus, and I wouldn't surprise me if he does it on the Jingwei by going Ninja Tabi.
Yeah, I don't think it's such an uncommon thing, though, to really be going Ninja Tabi on Jingwei, just because of the fact that even though she has the attack speed steroid, Ataraxi is one of those players where I feel like he just wants to go a little bit of AFK farm with the Jingwei until he can start rotating into team fights more freely to try and get off his aggression there. And I think that if he opts for the Double Glows build, which is what a lot of hunters tend to prioritize when they come to playing Jingwei, so I think with the Ninja Tabi, it'll be a decent power spike for him, and it'll still make him super effective in team fights.
Wow, and the Thoth pick there. One thing I do want to make note of right away, they got rid of that Ra because they know they had to prioritize Kha'Zix because he was just an animal throughout that first matchup. And now he's looking to really shift his focus here, and the Khepri is going to get locked in as well for Obey. How's that going to play out there?
I think that Khepri is actually a really important pick for Obey, especially when it comes to a team composition that Licht is opting for with the Thoth, because Thoth is really similar to Ra in the sense that he's probably going to be looking for the through-the-wall snipes and ability damage, which I think would be really important with the Khepri pairing, because Khepri can hopefully save any teammate that would potentially be killed by that Thoth one-shot.
But Thanatos was just picked up, so if Khepri ults someone, Thanatos is going to get the execute anyway. So what if Thoth gets a snipe and Thanatos looks for the execute while Khepri is ulted on him? You know, I don't know about the Khepri pick here, even though they knew Licht would pick Thanatos as well.
I don't know. This is going to be interesting, guys. Thoughts before we get into the game here? Can we see another shocking performance for Licht Esports? Can Latin America defeat Europe here in this next matchup to get that first seed for tomorrow?
I mean, they've taken on a Ney already. I think that they're definitely feeling it, and there's some potential there, in my opinion, for them to take away.
I'm an EU boy, but honestly, I want Licht to win.
Oh, really? You want Licht to win? But what does your brain say? I know what your heart says. What does the brain say?
Brain cell says Licht.
Oh, all right. I like that. I like that. All right, guys. This is going to be a great matchup. Of course, Licht, the underdogs, a Cinderella story. Can they do it? Let's take it over to the casters.
So much golden money on the analyst desk as well. This is going to be an exciting game here. Trickstank, and just like Funballer said, I'm rooting for Licht here.
I mean, they picked the Khepri. I love Khepri, but then I saw the Thanatos pick.
Oh, we got
my
God, over already. Hey-oh. Hello, Shintino. He's back. He's already got a kill, and Licht are on the board again.
And this is probably going to be the storyline of this game. So crazy, a lot of fighting. I'm so excited for this. As I was saying before, I love the Kepri pick. It's so good with Zeus, but when I saw the Thanatos solo, I was like, you don't go.
And to be fair, Obey knew that was a possibility. They saw it in the first game.
Yeah, that's really surprising to see. And also, you know, picking that Kepri, it's just really weird to see that. You do see some flexibility coming out of Obey, though. They actually picked up that Nike, again, showing that they have that God plan for multiple roles.
If they had the Kipper in mind, I'm not sure why they didn't ban the Thanatos. They knew
in the second phase.
They know they play Thanatos.
Oh, hang on a second. Bit of cheeky shenanigans from both sides of the map here. We got a double invade, boys. Good luck, cameraman. Here comes the red buff getting looked at by Obey now. Looks like Licht will look to just give this one up. Meanwhile, on the right-hand side, same story as Licht managed to steal away the speed.
This is, I think, a win for Licht. Red buff, not really effective. Obviously, percentage power in the early game, virtually, it's not giving you much, but that speed buff, not only onto the Thanatos, but more importantly, away from Twig is huge.
But Obey is doing really smart here. They go for their blue buff. They reckon they can't fight them, so they just go for their jungle. Very smart call.
But the problem is that now when they get to that solo lane now, they're going to be behind. The wave is already going to be pushed in by Thanatos and Thor. The pluck already in mid lane. Very, very useful just to get rid of the purification.
Trouble on the right. Death Scythe hits, double tap just off the mark. Twig would have lived either way, but at the very least, he's poked out. And you can see no mana, or health potions in his inventory. He only has a single mana, once again going for those Travelers.
And once again, Licht is so aggressive. If they keep doing this and
talking about aggression, just keep an eye on that mid lane right now because Sobek was coming around that corner for a second. Hold up.
Twig died to Archers?
Twig died
Get
to the
soloed.
Archers.
What? How does that happen?
Worlds?
What?
Minions are OP.
When's the last time at this level? Okay.
Well, we'll see exactly what's going to go on there. We're going to get a quick pause between the two teams right now. The fans were cheering for a second. And now, well, there's a bit of a moment for both teams just to collect their thoughts a little bit about how this one has really started. We've seen the Nike early on in game one that Obey played, but this time round, a bit of a different story. Will he go for the Taloria again? Because it looks like he's going for that HP 5 regeneration with what's built into Nike's kit, as well as the extra mobility.
I'm not sure what they will do, but that death on the minions actually will do a lot to what's called Captain Twig now, because he's now at base and have to walk back, so this is a little bit of an unfortunate situation for Obey.
But the fact is, Licht were still ahead at that moment in time anyway. They'd done the better invade overall, they got the first blood, and on top of that one, they cleared that solo lane wave earlier and been able to pressure the jungle as well.
And the first blood as well, it didn't go to the Thanatos, which I think would have been better, but it did go to Shinto on the Thor, which is just as good. With that first blood, you do expect that Thor to rotate often. Thor hasn't been played in solo in a long time, but this is a god that is incredibly dynamic. As long as he doesn't get poked out too early, if he can make rotations, you have to think, if Thor's going and just controlling those fire elementals, it's so hard to submit, especially as a Zeus, to expect those ults.
For sure. I actually think the Thor getting the kill is so important for Licht. He is the jungler. He will have a lot of presence in the jungle now, so I think he will do a lot with it and possibly look for a lot of ganks
That's
now.
what Thor wants early. Get an early kill, get himself to level 5 a little bit quicker so we can start looking for those semi-global rotations and put pressure on the map.
And as Lich, for this, you really need to abuse that first blood on Thor. You don't just want to farm up on the Thor, in the solo lane. You want to utilize him and rotate him across the map and just force these big team fights.
Yeah, Lich have been so aggressive so far, and if they keep doing that and keep having Obey on their toes, they will be able to win this game, for sure.
Well, we're going to take a moment and hand it back to the analysts, and they can analyze what's gone on so far in this game.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. All right, so we had a issue on the stage. We're going to be sure to get that resolved quickly. But I mean, I tell you, if you're Obey, you're kind of just like, whew, because that could have gone really wrong really quickly, Taco.
Yeah, it's just like they were talking about, especially that Trix and Donis were bringing up. That's pretty much an ideal situation for the Thor to go ahead and pick up that early snowball potential. And Lich, as we saw before, they're not unkeen to that double assassin composition. They really seem to like that and favor it because I think that they opt more for that early aggression. So I think that it is a bit of a problem for Obey right now.
Yeah, well, they picked double assassin themselves. They had Thanatos in the solo lane, and they had Thor. And they had I didn't even notice before, but they had the rat solo with the Nike. So I think it'd be pretty interesting in the solo lane, especially.
So we know that with that first pick, it really changes the tone of the game and favors Lich quite a bit. as they prepare for re-entering here. But I need to understand here, because you're very like pro Lich right now, and I think that's awesome, because I'm very excited for this team to do very well here. It's the World Championship. Other regions should be prominent, you know, not just NA and EU, so I want to see that. Why is that? Why is it you feel like Obey is going to struggle in this game against Lich? And it seems like your prediction is kind of coming to fruition, but I want you to like deep dive on that one.
Well, we can't say, it's too early in the game already, but the Capri pick is, they already knew that they were going to pick Thanatos. They knew it was in the god pool of the solo laner, and they picked the Capri into that. Actually, I'm sorry, they picked Thanatos 5th and then picked the Capri, but they still knew it was in the god pool. And Frezzy, he's known for his aggression, and I don't think he's that practiced on that Capri itself.
Yeah, I did like the Nike pick, but like Funballer was saying, I'm not so certain on Frezzy with such a... Capri's more known for being a defensive god and a god that's great at trying to avoid fickle situations, but him playing Capri when he's so accustomed to trying to just initiate for his team nonstop, I think that it could be problematic once it starts to get into the mid-late game strides of the game, because that's probably when things start to get a lot more hectic, especially with Thanatos solo. You never really know where it's going to be coming from, and I feel like a lot of times they might even potentially use that Thana just to bait out a Capri ult on a target that they might not necessarily want to go on, and then just look to engage on somebody else entirely, because the Thana ult still has a lot of CC coming out of it. So even if it doesn't necessarily execute, the setup and the damage that would be coming out of Lich, I think could be pretty devastating to Obey.
Yeah, which again, you know, if Obey is not careful, they could easily see themselves in a position that would, you know, send them to that lower part of the bracket there, which I'm sure is not something that they would want, of course. So as we shift focus to what, you know, Obey could potentially do wrong here, what could go wrong for Lich on this side? Are there any things that, and Fun, we'll start with you, anything that you see, you're like, well, if Obey were to do X, Y, and Z, it could lead to Lich losing this game?
So Varity is one of those wild card players, and I've not seen him play Rat at all. So if the Rat Tasker goes off on a Thanatos, maybe he knows the matchup, maybe he knows how it's going to go. Potentially, maybe Variety can, you know, carry that game.
Yeah, Variety is one of those players for Obey where he has shown up when he's needed to really help snowball his team and ensure that they don't fall too far behind. And I think that it'll be really important if Funballer, like he said, if the Ratatasker starts to get off, that's definitely a snowball character. And I mean, we saw it just last game with Mass. As soon as he got that triple kill, the tides turned indefinitely for Luminosity. And so the same thing could potentially happen in this set if Lich don't respect Obey's present on the map enough, and if they get a little bit too confident after their most recent win today, I mean, it could work against them. That's
very true. Everyone always thinks that, you know, confidence doesn't really play much of a role. You always see people talking about that in forums and Twitter and all that stuff, Reddit, wherever have you. And it really does, right? Like, Obey had such a dominating game earlier today. One could think that they would come into this matchup with that same kind of swagger, that same kind of confidence, and that could end up costing them. Meanwhile, if you're Lich, you were preparing to defeat ALG, and you were preparing to play against Obey, right? So for them, I would imagine that this Obey roster did not expect to play Lich. Would I be wrong in guessing that, Funballer?
No, and Lich are the underdogs in the, you know, in the entire worlds, and they have nothing to lose. But they showed us that they beat LG, they've come prepared, and they know that they have a chance of winning against Obey.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely newfound territory for them. We're not accustomed at all, really, to seeing an international team take a win off of NA. And so the fact for them to come through with that, it really shows like a shining light in their region, I think, in the sense that you can tell that this is a team who's prepared to adapt to any kind of situation that's thrown into them. And the fact is, I definitely think they do have upset potential if they can take a game off of ALG in a best-of-1 scenario. If they get going, they can do the same exact thing against Obey, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, these best-of-1s could roll any way. That's the danger of a best of one, because one could prepare for a best of three. You're like, all right, well, we gave up one game. We know, we've read them, we know exactly how to execute. Let's go ahead and just wipe them clean in games 2 and 3. But in a best of one, that's it. You have one opportunity to surprise your opponent, and that format definitely favors Licht because they can pop up with something very uncharacteristic.
Yeah, and we've done this before. My team, Orbit, we in a best of 3, the first game, we always we're always, yeah, let's test the waters. Let's see how good they are. Let's see if they, bring out any funky picks. But in this best of 1, you can't do that. You need to go all in, and you need to show them who's the boss.
Yeah, that's very true. Even thinking about the LG matchup earlier today, right? Barracuda showed the Xingwei, and even he said it on the stage, well, I'm never getting that for the rest of the weekend. And then in the following matchup, Soar was like, nope, you're right. You're never going to get that Xingwei. You can go ahead and play Soul. And even though he's shredded on Soul, it still is one of those things that you have to keep in mind. You go all in, and sometimes you show your cards. And if anyone is a poker player out there, you never want to show your cards because you expose yourself. So this is going to be a tough matchup on both sides of the table here. Obey, they have the potential though. Variety, I want to go back to him. You and I were talking earlier, Funballer, about Variety's God Pool and the picks that he was capable of making here. One of those gods you mentioned is not in this game, which is Ymir. They ended up going with the Ratatoskr. Why not go for the Ymir for anyone who may not be aware?
I think it's easy to pick off a Ymir with a Thanatos Thor, and maybe Verity wasn't as comfortable as playing Rat or something into the Thanatos. So I think that's the reason he didn't pick it.
Yeah, I honestly prefer the fact that he opted for the Ratatoskr in comparison to the Ymir, because the lack of mobility would be really easy for him to be capitalized on in any kind of team fight engagement. And I feel with Ratatoskr, it's one of those characters, and Variety is a skilled enough mechanical player to where if he opted for more of a bruiser-ish build, he could still provide his team with peel that they would need in order to be successful in team fights, as well as damage.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, it was a very smart decision there, without a doubt, right? Ratataskr's mobility, we've seen what this god is capable of doing. The plays, that triple from Mass earlier was insane. But the good news, though, folks, is that we're going to be kicking off in a little bit, and I found out that our casters actually want to chime in and give their perspective. So I'm going to actually toss it back over to our casters to really give their perspective on what they think about this upcoming matchup.
Thanks so much, Golden Boy. And obviously, both teams, no one wants to see a pause. No one ever wants to see a pause because momentum goes, and then you've got to reset yourself again.
Get cold.
And you get cold. What do you do when you get cold?
I mean, I said warming my hands a little bit, but you actually cold hand when you're waiting and you're not playing. So just keep your hands moving, think about the game, still talk with the team, what are we going to do when we get out of the game? Are we going to do that? Now when they find themselves behind, it's a really good time to talk about how we're going to get back into this game.
I have a question for you, Trix. Obviously, you're not on stage this year, but you were last year. Yep. When games don't go your way at the beginning, especially that hard, and you give an early first blood to a hard carry or a god that can really snowball it with Thor, what's in your mind as an Obey player?
I mean, usually it's the mentality that really goes down. So you just got to keep your head up, first of all. But as well, they got to. Usually when you're behind as well, you gotta play reactively to what they do, and that's the tricky part. What are they gonna do? Are they gonna try to find themselves some plays, or are they gonna play reactively to Licht? We'll see.
Well, I've got to say as well, Golden Boy had a very good point on the desk all about the fact that Obey would not have prepared to face Licht.
Right.
Yeah,
they wouldn't have prepared for this.
I mean, Funball was saying it too, Obey, they saw the Thanatos, they saw the Thanatos, but maybe they weren't watching that game as intently as Funball was. I mean, because obviously Thanatos is a god that's not run too much in North America or Europe. Obviously, it comes back in every once in a while because it is a god that can snowball very hard if you go into that early game meta.
I'm 100% Obey didn't think at all about
think they did
Thanatos
either.
because they were thinking about picking Kipri, and if they knew they were picking that, they would have banned Thanatos 100%.
And the desk.
I was going to say, we're not really spoke about Variety's Ratatoskr here.
Yeah.
The fact that he did go for Ratatoskr, Funball on the desk saying himself, he's not really seen Variety bring out Ratatoskr. Is this something to deal with Thanatos? But then if they were preparing for Thanatos, why not just bang, him away if they're going to pick Kipri?
They were talking about the Ymir, and I think the Ymir overall as a 1v1 matchup is way better than Ratatoskr.
Really?
But it might be a little bit safer in the lane. You can't really get like locked down because every time anybody ganks, you can just go up in the air. And same with Thanatos, just go up in the air.
I think the biggest issue with that, though, is Ymir's ultimate, and he gets stuck in place. And against the Thanatos, I mean, it's so dangerous, obviously. I mean, Ratatosker getting picked up. It's okay against the Thor. Obviously, you can stun out the spin. Unfortunately, though, I expect Shinto to go into the hammer now, especially after that first blood.
Yeah.
Double tap does so much damage if it's first maxed out. I mean, it's half-lifing mid-mages if they're not careful.
I had a feeling that with the Ratatosker, though, it might have been Obey saying, listen, we've not got Thanatos or Thor, and, you know, the amount of semi-global presence they're going to have, Ratatosker could just try and match some of that. So if one goes to the sky, he can follow them and look to reinitiate off their initiation.
Yeah, right now, Licht have a lot of backline diving, so I think they just want to max it out a little bit, and that's why they pick Ratatosker, so they also can dive the backline.
This is interesting, too, because you look at this full lineup that Lich has drafted, and we're talking so much about this Thor, Thanatos, and early Snowball, but then they have a Thoth and a Rom who are more centered around that late game, and so this is a team that even if Obey can hold out into late game against that early aggression, then Thoth comes online, then the Rom comes online. And those are actually the two players that I think are the strongest on Lich. Is going to be, it's Nozex and it's Sleep Type.
And Nozex played Raw last game. This game, he's going to be playing Thoth, one of the newer gods that's available, and he's got the same sort of style.
It's actually the same sort of style. It's like a snipe sort of style, and he was hitting basically everything.
I think everything.
So I think it's going to be really interesting seeing his Thoth. I think it's going to be really good.
I'm thinking about the Thoth as well. Obviously, we've not seen too much of a competitive player, Dennis. With a Thor combination, you can set up those final judgments. We're back in, and the crowd seems quite happy about that too.
Captain Twig here, still gonna rock that death, but he does, I mean, he has the gold shoes here. And this is gonna be really hard, I think, for Captain Twig to recover. He's level 2 right now, and this is the strength of Rat, too.
Hang on a second. Shinto may have met his maker here as Variety has punished him heavily in that lane.
That would have been such an important shutdown from Variety. He had that one kill. If he got that kill, that would have been a complete turnaround.
And it was the minions, too. Actually, a really good job by Shinto walking straight through his archers. Obviously, Ratatosker would either have to go around or he's just stuck in place, and that's what happened. Just that slight delay.
Obviously, with the start of the game being so fast-paced like it was at the beginning of this one, Shinto on that right-hand side who got that first kill, he's actually solo lane 4 here. It's not solo Thanatos that a lot of people may not have noticed just yet. So we're going to Thanatos jungle this game.
They like Thanatos. Thanatos jungle, Thanatos solo. This is interesting.
Well, at least they're not trying to support yet like EU did, right?
Right.
And it's so good, you know, against these compositions. Ratatosker, if Thanatos is in the air first, if he ults, he's stuck in place for a little bit. Same with Zeus, no mobility. On top of that, you have Khepri, who doesn't really have a lot of movement speed, and you're going to be able to execute through this. Thanatos could possibly be the key to Lich winning this.
And the Khepri also have Teleria boots. I wonder if that's because he's thinking there's so much fighting going on, so he can get that passive all the
That's a big point. I think that's why we see Captain Twig with this Nike going for Teleria boots first, not actually going for even Bumba's mask to start. He did last game pick up Bumba's mask,
right there.
and there it is, picked up right now.
Pretty Prime just farming up in mid, and you can see Lich, they're just soaking up this mid wave. I feel like they're actually trying to bait Obey into going aggressive, because you can see Nozex just by himself over there, and here's the rotation. This Thanatos is just rotating and roaming between the mid and solo, looking for any opportunity.
Well, catching Ratatosker is going to be a difficult task for the whole team of Lich to do. They put a bit of pressure on for a second and have to fall back again. Obey, though, you said they may be looking to try and pressure them. I don't think that's the case, Trix, because Obey is just going to want to farm right now.
And see, Ataraxia actually rotated towards the right lane because he thought there was going to be a fight going on. And that's what I think is the way that Obey is going to get back into this game. It's going to be Ataraxia rotating, it's going to be Ataraxia doing the damage, it's going to be him doing the plays.
It's going to be Variety and Captain Twig pressuring the right-hand side of the map now. The blue buff is available. They took that last time, remember, but the jungler knows what's going on.
He's rotating around. Great wall. Silence going to hit both players. Blue buff not picked up just yet. The Wrath hits, and it is stolen away by Captain Twig, and he hits 5 off that. That's huge.
And now in the jungle, though, he's still being pressured and looking for the pick, but there's Variety to save his jungler and giving him an escape route as well. Good play from Obey. They steal the blue and get away.
A little bit risky there. That could have gone to the the way of Licht by getting a kill, but they actually get away, and that's really good for Obey.
I do like the fact that you saw Rama rotating over towards mid lane there as well. Sleep Tight, very, very aware of that big old fight that was going on. Those Rama ultimates could have come into play.
And right now, too, the thing about Sleep Tight is he is going to have a lot of trouble dealing with Ataraxia. Obviously, the passive coming out from Jingwei, it's almost impossible. Even if you kill Jingweis, they will be equal, sometimes ahead of you in farm, because you're just able to go from Fountain back into lane.
But then again, I've been talking to the players as well, and Sleep Tight should be a really good ADC. Everybody's basically saying he's so good, so maybe he'll be able to contest Ataraxia's Jingwei.
And you saw them up against Allegiance earlier on, and you look very comfortable in that lane.
Well, he actually did outrote Jingwei. He did a really good job of making sure to get to these mid fights, and that's the thing. Rom doesn't have to fully rotate like other hunters if you're playing something like an Anhur. He only has to make it to just about that Gold Fury and that mid island between mid camps to be able to hit players in the mid with his ult.
Well, the one player in Licht that did get a lot of love last game was Noz in the mid lane. This time he's on top. And he's a bit of a trickier god in a lot of ways because a little bit less survivability, escapability on this one.
I'm not sure how I like the Thuff. It's just really easy to pick out, and it's really hard mechanically god to play. So I think if he's just as good on Thuff as he is on Ra.
On the right-hand side, potentially going on here as we do see the junglers rotating, but Variety's taking on 2 of them right now and poking them both down to decent amounts of health.
And this is trouble for, well, actually, Variety needs to be careful too. Just because of this, this is actually a really scary combo on the right-hand side as Ataraxia just going to back off, but you have the Tectonic Rift, and if you get hit with a Death Scythe and a double tap, you might be dead at this level.
Well, the amount of rotation from to the right-hand side means the Gold Fury has been pulled by Obey.
Rising.
Looking to burst it down as quick as they can, but Sleep Tight saw what was going on, but he's too little too late. Obey, sneak a Gold Fury.
Ooh, trouble for Pretty Prime. He's getting chased down, gonna ult on top to himself. Sleep Tight, though, does go up into the sky, looking for damage onto Ataraxia, but Variety's made the rotation.
And there in the jungle is Noz as well, looking to support, gonna force Ataraxia back. Variety with a teleport and an ultimate down 2, but he's Twig in trouble instead. And the jungler comes up big. Nois with the kill.
That's so sad. It would have been worth for Bay if they just left Pretty Prime alone, but they didn't.
Oh, Judgment hit, but Judgment will not spell the end right now for Ataraxia. The follow-up, however, that will spell the end for him, as in mid lane, the fight continues.
Revive coming up on Khepri. Shinto's still around, and here comes Nozix as well, and he's gonna find 2. Double kill coming out. Variety sitting on half under tower. He's not going to be able to defend anything. And
and I'll tell you something right now. The crowd is getting behind Licht, and I can almost feel them enjoying the momentum they're getting from the crowd being with them.
And it's so good coming out from the mid laner. Again, Thoth not actually fully charging the final judgment. He knew Ataraxia was just close to a second before that back went through. He shot it early. Hieroglyphic Assault to do enough damage, and then a great job on body blocking as well against that tower wall.
Also, just the fact that he saw him back in there was just great. The fact that he just went there.
Oh, Shinto could be in a bit of trouble there. A little bit low on mana. The blue buff still stands for a second. Shinto's very low, stunned in place.
No
looking
mana.
to juke it out, trying to stay alive, but no. Variety will claim his life. 3-5.
You know, despite getting the goal, oh, actually, Captain Twig in a little bit of trouble. His leap's down. He does have the Khepri around the corner, and he's going to do a good job of pulling the Thanatos away.
Twig. The hieroglyphic assault did work from the mid laner, and the mid laner again gets another kill. Panda-like answers back, and in the sky's Variety. But meanwhile, the support player here is going to fall down. He's not going to get away this time.
A little bit of a, a misplay actually coming out of the Thanatos there. After the Sobek flung Captain Twig, he threw out his Death Scythe, and it misses. If he hits that, it's not about him getting the kill because it happened anyway.
I actually think it
but he would have got
under
bonus health.
I actually think it went under him, and so it actually missed because of the grip, so that's a little bit unfortunate.
Now, one thing we didn't really mention about Nike as well is her ultimate is fantastic for giving her a big old shield, but it doesn't actually give you health, it gives you a shield, so you can get executed through it by Thanatos.
Yeah, and also the Nike pick is so great with the Khepri, because Khepri have no engage whatsoever, and the Nike have the jump, so he can be able to engage with Variety. Meanwhile, Panda-like staying behind and peeling for the Zeus.
Well, Panda-like's having a bit of a fun with Shinto over in the right-hand line. It wouldn't be a game if Panda-like wasn't doing something weird.
Well, Panda-like has 3 kills. He's actually 2 levels above Captain Twig at this point.
Well, Variety's going very deep for Shinto here, and who's winning the trade. Shinto's in trouble, looking to get to the sky, and he will just in time.
Rising Dawn not going to do enough damage. He's just going to back off to safety, and they're going to rotate Sobek over to deal with this. Panda-like is level 10. This is scary going up against a Guardian who's ahead.
Yeah, but then again, it's Kepler. He doesn't do too much damage, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh, mid
anyway.
lane, Captain Twig going aggressive. I heard the final judgment call.
Oh,
The ult away.
what a good job.
Oh, the leap is just too good to get away from the danger zone of Thanatos.
Oh, that backstep too by Variety. This could be trouble.
As well, and the dash is down on the support. Sabas has to be careful here, but here comes Shinto again. And the rotation from Thanatos too. They're looking for the pick, and Panda Likes gonna die before Variety even lands.
He jumps on 3, but gets flung back into the tower, gonna dash out, but he's surrounded by 3 right now. There's no one on Obey able to rotate. Double tap connects, but no teleport.
This game right now, Obey are playing to Lich's playstyle, it seems. Lich like to fight, they like to skirmish, and Obey, they're not a team like that. They like to team fight.
They're going to fight with him right now, and it seems like it's actually going the way of Obey. They're starting to build a more lead towards Lich, where they were ahead before.
You can see just in the levels, the only one down on Obey's side right now is Captain Twig, and obviously he got poked out, he got killed by minions, he's 0-3, but as a Nike, you don't really need to be ahead.
Oh, Captain Twig in the mid lane just met his maker again. He's just too over-aggressive, and now Variety on the right.
Hammer?
So looking for
3
the double
seconds.
tap. He's going to take a bit of time here, trying to make sure he can't back. Double tap, not going to find a home.
Variety doing a really good job of reading where these hammer throws are going.
But he's got support coming right now. I think Thanatos is coming around the back with the support.
Oh, he missed.
Sobek. The ult misses.
What?
And now it's a turnaround play for Obey, looking to turn this on his head.
Panalike still by himself right now, fighting against 2. Variety's gonna come down, get flung away. Thanatos still very low. Panalike is just trying to chase him out, and he finally gets the kill.
For the card carry, Panda like on Kepri. 4 kills his way.
So I'm so confused why they actually put the Thanatos in the jungle and not the solo, because he's
Right,
such
in a
good
bit
job
of
before.
trouble here still. He's going to be forced to ultimate as well. The hieroglyphic assault, it does work, and Nos gets another kill. Shinto
Got it.
nearly bit off too much more than he could chew, but he's away from the danger zone now. Twig back in the action, looking for Sabaz with support from Variety. It's a bloodbath in the solo lane.
Dead even gold at this point, though, so it doesn't really matter much. I'm gonna go all the way back, though. Panalike is very uncomfortable on this Kepri. Did you see him ult against the Thanatos ult? That is clearly a character. This is clearly a character he has not practiced.
But his reaction as a support player, though, to try and save it.
Then again, you're like, oh, you're gonna die. Use your ult, and it doesn't matter if it's a Kepri or if it's a Thanatos execute. You're still gonna use it because it's just reactionary.
Well, Obey looking to invade the blue again, and over here is Norwis and No.
Did he get that?
No, smart by Panalike, actually body
body
blocking
blocks.
for the blue buff. Nice.
Well, Licht will get their own speed buff here as well, and Thanatos closing in on level 12 now as well. I'm just looking towards his build here, and we saw this very similar in the first game on a different player.
Yeah, this is huge. Just getting the bonus movement speed after every heal. I mean, that Death Scythe is returning so much. You also just get bonus movement speed on Thanatos just for using your 2. On top of that, now he's got Heavy Hammer. It's going to be very hard to get away.
Well, here's a call for a goal for you. Do you like this tricks? Is this a good idea?
They had no wards, but now they're standing on a ward, so they can't do it. Good call falling back again.
It looks more like they were trying to pick Prime there more than anything else, but Prime was aware. Nos, though, going to throw out a bit of poke one more time. The route over the wall from Panalike is good, but that would just force him to reset back to his team.
To be honest, it seems like their Lich mid player is so good. He's been playing so good this game and also against AOG, so I think that's the player who's going to carry them through this game.
Oh, the assault. You can hear it channeled there as the Scythe connects. Ooh, the crowd like that one too.
And you can see Captain Twig, I mean, he's been so far behind all game, 1-4-2 right now, and he's actually gone straight into an offensive item, the Brawler's Beat Stick. There obviously is healing on Thanatos. He's going to get a ton of return health when he's in that fight, but Twig needs to be very careful because he gets shredded.
Well, ward wars have started around the Gold Fury. It's Lich that are the ones in a bit of a more of a priority spot. At least they feel that way with how these fights are going.
And I mean, it's just been nonstop action, and this is what's comfortable for Lich. You know, even if they don't have a big lead right now, or they're actually a little bit behind, they thrive in just going aggressive as much as possible. So it's not like Obey is doing anything that they're not used to.
Gold Fury started up here by Obey. Zone duty work from Panda for now, trying to keep him busy. Already down to half health, but the call from Obey is reset. Round the back to the left, you did see Shinto had come over.
Yeah, even though Lich is a little bit behind, they still have to respect them a lot, Obey, because they can die easily. Captain Twig have no protection yet. He will get one shot when he engages.
They did get the teleport out of Shinto, though, on that Thor from the solo lane. So now if they just reset, it's going to allow them to allow Variety to come over on the next one.
I think Obey really wants to slow the pace of this game down. You can see his teleports Variety's teleport's going to be coming up. He's level 15 right now, and he's just been doing a great job of farming. You can see him just pushing on the right-hand side. Obey just bait Lich all to the left. Variety gets a ton of solo farm right now, and he's in a great position. He's got Breastplate of Valor online, and just backed and completed Jotuns, he's got max CDR.
Well, Lich T this time. They're the ones around the Gold Fury looking for something, and we've tuned in with Noz here, who's currently 4-0-3. We were going to look to see how he measures up against all the mid laners in the world, and right now he's showing he can do that.
It's just kind of this back and forth at Gold Fury right now. Both teams seem to be very committed to it. You could see it's Shinto who's got the Wrath on the side of Lich, and for Obey, it's Captain Twig once again, but he just hit level 12, so I think Obey are going to want to have him back and get his second relic, and that's the same on Lich right now. I mean, these players who just hit level 12 really need to get these team fight relics online.
And it's so important for Lich right now, the fact that Traxa is under control and the Ramas are doing a great job, so if he keeps doing that, they will be able to out-rotate him maybe, and then they can get a good fight.
Wow.
Variety doing his thing.
I think that was Variety more like showing well played, because that was very close. He realized how close that was to connect, and that was squeaky bum time for a second thing.
Oh, that was a great play by Variety, but he's going to be a little bit in trouble because he's by himself. You can see the Thanatos rotating over.
Is round the back, and here we go. It's 2v1, and immediately Variety turns tail to flee. Left-hand side, look at the grouping from Obey, though. They're going for the gold, but Lich know about it, too.
You can see Sleep Tight right there, and Nox as well, and actually Obey just going to be forced off. Sebasa misses the charge spray, and he's going to be in trouble surrounded by 4.
Oh, the burst is just so good from Prime's Detonator. That was for his ultimate. They'll pick up the support and turn their attention towards Thanatos, but Shinto is here.
Oh, big actually shield. Captain Twig going to be able to stay alive on the left-hand side. Variety zoning out 2 members, and under tower, Thanatos barely manages to get away for now.
Going in, he's looking for Sleep Tight, and Sleep Tight's going to say goodnight right about now, because I don't see him
he rolled past it. Oh, actually, he's still alive. Ataraxia waiting for the time. 1v1, Sleep Tight. Oh, he just barely missed. Capri would have been there anyway, but so close.
Ooh, that was close, Trixtank.
I am not sure what Lich were doing there. The Sober get picked because he randomly get left by his team, and after that they engage again, like one by one, and keep dying. They should just have left that, given them Gold Fury, and said, okay, we're fine with it, we'll come back.
Thanatos in the air, however, at this Gold Fury. Might be looking for something, but can't stay there all day. And when Variety realizes that, he comes down, and the Gold Fury goes to him.
Smart play by Variety there. He was not only in execute range, but also knowing that if Thanatos landed down, he would have been in the sky ready to knock him up immediately. His Purification was forced in mid lane, so there was almost no chance now was going to be able to steal that away.
So with what we've seen come out of Obey all of a sudden is when they got to a team fight 5-on-5, they found their rhythm again. That's what I was seeing earlier, is like Lich T, they want skirmishes. Obey, they want 5-on-5.
I'm so surprised Obey is keeping up with Lich early game, because Obey is known for being really weak in the early game and then really showing up in the late game, and they're doing a great job in the early game as well, so it's going to be really good for Obey.
Well, lucky enough there for Ataraxia in that last fight. He did manage to survive without needing the Kepri ultimate as well, however, because that could have been very awkward if that got turned around.
It was really close, and I think Pandalike was even unsure of it himself. He thought that was going to be a free kill, so he didn't do that anytime at the beginning of the fight.
But I want to say it again, I'm so confused why they didn't put the Thor in the jungle and the Thanatos in the solo lane. It seemed like their solo lane was so much more confident on it, and the Thor is just a great pick in the jungle.
Maybe they just don't like the Ratatoskr matchup against it, but at the same time,
Thor is even worse, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard because his spin gets stunned out.
Well, right, and Harpies have spawned here, but it looks like Obey, they're looking for the speed instead.
Oh,
and
Sebasa.
It comes to Sabaz one more time here. He's the one this focus has really been on from Lich when you look, sorry, from Obey when you look at the kills.
And as we say, Pandalike is a really aggressive support, and he keeps showing that. He don't care if he's Kipper, he'll go up in their face and just show presence, basically.
And I'm going to zone them away on the left-hand side as the speed buff is stolen away. They all have to watch from Lich there as they just walk back to the safety of their own half of the map.
And the thing about Pandalike as well is that he's so far ahead because of the kills that he's almost impossible to kill. Now going aggressive, Twig jumps in.
Twig very quickly in the chain line and hit 3 targets there. And you can see them all trying to retreat back to the safety. The focus on Sabaz once more is still continuous. Variety.
Oh, they're grouped up.
Going up and into the sky goes the rat, and down comes the rat. Down goes Lich. 3 members dead, and Sleep Tight, good night.
Absolute destruction coming out. Shinto's going to come down, and Pretty Prime was already waiting with the Sanctuary. Double tap, just barely misses. The ult from Kepri would have saved him either way. It's 5 kills, the deicide coming out from Obey, and it was all based on Variety's ult.
That must be why they picked the Ratatoskr.
Yeah, see?
Verity's playing it so good. he actually ulted like from a far away, so nobody knew he was ulting, and then he got a 4-man ult and basically set up the whole fight and got them all.
Fire Giant, the way of Obey, 7,500 gold lead, and this has basically come over, what is it, 5 minutes? That's how much they managed to get a lead of.
I mean, yeah, you could see at 10-minute mark, the game was dead even. By 15 minutes, it might have been, 1,000 at most. And then, like you mentioned, it's just been the grouping coming out from Obey. There was just chaos in the jungle for so long, and once Obey started working as a unit, that's when they were able to fight back.
But it's mainly because Variety have actually been able to have the pressure versus 2 people a lot of the time. So they haven't had the same mid pressure as Obey have because there've been more people around them. And I think that's where they're actually lacking, the fact that the solo lane is just lost completely.
We saw Nowist over in that lane multiple times, but Licht wasn't actually able to kill Variety. I think SunTouch mentioned it best on our previous cast, is that Variety is so good, maybe one of the best in the world at knowing his limits, especially in the solo lane. Very similar to Baskin over on Soar, where if he knows that he's not going to be able to get outplayed, and he knows his cooldowns and the enemy's cooldown, he will just play aggressive and bait those players over there.
Well, the final tier 1 tower of Lich will fall on the left-hand side, and the jungle is being stripped away with this Fire Giant buff too. I don't think Obey are that far ahead right now that they can just commit heavily, but I say that as Variety takes it to Nois in the jungle.
They have a 9k lead right now, so they can easily take all the towers, but they actually have to contest one of the towers because they're going to get too far behind, and they will just be too far behind to do anything.
Well, tier 2 tower does fall on the left-hand side, and little extra in the coffers of Obey. They're going to turn their attention towards mid lane as well.
And starting to push it. Obviously, Lich still have the Thanatos, and that's going to come in big. They're really going to need an execute in one of these fights to win. Twig's going to jump forward, just looking for any poke. And Variety actually dashes in, finds a 2-man stun.
The wall's going to pin him off for a second. He's brought into trouble, but meanwhile, Ataraxia takes out the front line. Thanatos to the back, not going to find the execute or even the dunk, and Ataraxia gets 2 kills. Next on the list could be Sleep Tight, or it could be Noz on the left. He's still being dived down by Variety.
So close. Variety's going to find the kill, though. Only 1 member left at Sleep Tight. All 5 kills once again. It's a deicide, 21-9. And Obey.
What a turnaround.
What a turnaround indeed. It didn't start well for Obey, but it sure did finish